The stakes are as high as it gets in these remaining races. If the Democrats win all three, they would achieve that all-important 60-seat filibuster-proof majority. In Alaska, we could have a better idea of the outcome of the race as early as today. State election officials are expecting to count the roughly 90,000 remaining ballots today. Right now, Ted Stevens, the longest-serving Republican in Senate history, leads Democrat Mark Begich by just a little more than 3,200 votes. Minnesota Secretary of State Mark Ritchie is planning to hold a news conference this afternoon to talk about the recount procedure for the Senate race there. Just 206 votes separate Republican Norm Coleman from comedian Al Franken. Both candidates are recruiting observers and lawyers to stand watch when the largest recount in that state's history gets underway next week. And in Georgia, voters are heading back to the polls. A runoff between incumbent Senator Saxby Chambliss and Democratic challenger Jim Martin is scheduled for December 2nd. That means a new round of campaigning, complete with surrogates and advertisements. About 100 aides who worked for Obama reportedly are heading south to help with Martin's grassroots turnout. And John McCain will make a personal visit tomorrow to stump for Senator Chambliss. And National Republican Senatorial Committee has a new web ad to remind voters about the election's significance.
If Martin wins, that gets the Democrats that much closer to 60 in the Senate, and at 60 they can do just about anything they want.
For more now on the recount in Minnesota, let's talk to Mark Ritchie, who's the Minnesota Secretary of State. It's good to see you today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I know that there is some scrutiny by the Republicans over this recount because, in part, Norm Coleman led by 735 votes the morning after election night. Now he just leads by 206. There were some corrections made by local election boards. Do you understand why the Coleman campaign is now questioning the integrity of the vote counting?
Oh, I think it's normal campaign. Their goal is to win at any price. They've invested millions of dollars, and so we consider this part of the normal political rhetoric. But state law in Minnesota is very clear. Any race that's within a half a percentage point, and this one is very, very close, must be recounted. In fact, we will start 4 recounts on November 19th. And keep in mind, we just had a statewide recount just 2 months ago, so we're very used to this sort of process, and we're used to the political rhetoric being amped up as high as it can, because that's part of their job of trying to win at any price.
But in part, that rhetoric is being ratcheted up because you're the Secretary of State and you happen to be a Democrat, and right now the national Republicans are putting out a background document that portrays you as this far-left version of Katherine Harris in Florida in 2000. So you have to oversee a recount that's very close. Can you remain objective and bipartisan?
Well, I think it's one thing to attack somebody. You know, the presidential campaign had the same kind of rhetoric. I don't know if Katherine Harris would be very happy to be characterized in such a negative context. But in Minnesota, of course, we just ran a recount. People were very, very happy with the recount. And the recounts are done at the local level. There's 87 local election officials, and the final decisions go to the canvass board.
My question to you, though, sir, is can you remain objective and bipartisan in this recount effort?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not bipartisan. There were 5 different parties running in this race. In Minnesota, we don't just have 2 parties.
Okay, so
we
multi-partisan.
have 6 parties.
Multi-partisan
yes,
it is.
Absolutely.
Mark Ritchie, thank you so much for your time. I know that you're holding a news conference this afternoon to talk about how the recount will proceed, and we'll be listening for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.